You all for joining us today. So here's the thing, guys. We got to talk about Aaron Rodgers because, frankly, I love where this conversation always goes. The NFL released their 2010 All-Decade team. Tom Brady made the list. Aaron Rodgers made the list, but noticeably absent from the team was Drew Brees. Despite leading the 2010s in passing touchdowns and yards by a wide margin. So, Shannon, I start with you. Did Rodgers deserve this over Brees?
Yeah. Yes. Let's see. This decade, the 2010s, right, Jenny? I think that's what you asked me. 2010s.
Yep.
One guy has a Super Bowl MVP, 2 regular season MVPs. The other guy doesn't. One guy played in 11 fewer regular season games, but have one more regular season victory than the other guy. What about playoffs? One guy's 4-6, the other guy's 10-7. One guy, the guy that didn't make it, was 21 touchdowns, 10 interceptions in the playoffs. The other guy is 36-11 in the playoffs. You tell me. Now, Skip Bayless told me that when Tom Brady lost the Super Bowl, it was because a sorry, pathetic defense had given up 41 points. Aaron Rodgers lost the game to the Falcons in 2016, in which his defense gave up 44 points. They lost another game in 2019 to the 49ers. They gave up 37 points. So, I don't really, what are we talking about, Skip? You know good well A-Rod deserves it. He probably should have been unanimous. The way I'm looking at things from where I'm sitting right now in my palatial estate up in Bel Air, I can see it real clear. Yep, he and Tom Brady should have been unanimous selections.
I think you are fogged in up there in Bel Air. I think you can't see the forest for the trees outside your palatial estate because it's too foggy in your brain right now. I am outraged over this. This is just flat out wrong. And I'll be the first to say, my friend Lil Wayne is going to be very upset with me for what I'm about to say, but I cannot help it. I still love you, man. I just don't agree with you on Aaron Rodgers. I don't get it. I don't see it. Aaron Rodgers has become the most overhyped quarterback of this generation, which has led to him being the most overrated quarterback of this generation. He has definitely had his moments, but a lot of the hype comes from his cool factor. Is he cooler than Tom Brady? Yeah, I'll give you that. Is he cooler than Drew Brees? Yeah, I'll give you that. Both those guys are sort of nerdy, cliche-ridden family men, okay? And Aaron is cool. He likes his scotch. He likes to play golf. He likes to go on long vacations to Chile with his lady, Danica. She's the hot girlfriend, significant other who used to be the terrific race car driver. I get all that. Aaron, for a while, was dating a Hollywood starlet. I get all that. So if that's why you want to vote for him, I can't talk you out of that part. But this decade has belonged to Tom Brady, number 1, and to Drew Brees, number 2. Because if you look at this decade, across the decade, 10 years worth, Drew Brees leads the decade in completions and yards and completion percentage and touchdown passes and just about any stat that you want to throw out there, Drew leads for this decade. And obviously, he leads in all those departments forever. He is number 1 in all those departments, career and forever in history of the National Football League. But remember, if we want to be technical about this, Drew did win his Super Bowl on, let's see, it was February 7th of 2010. Does that count in this decade? That's what you just told me. He did. It was 2010, February 7th. He won a Super Bowl. And then 1 year later, which was in February 6th of 2011, Aaron Rodgers won his one and only Super Bowl. And how did that happen? He went on a 4-0 run as the road wildcard team. They were the 6th seed. And as you remember, they beat Michael Vick in Atlanta when Vick made a bad choice on the last second throw. It was just a bad idea, but it was a close game, went down to the wire. Then Aaron blew out Matt Ryan at Atlanta. That was good. And then in the NFC Championship game that year, Aaron Rodgers was pretty sorry. He deserved to lose that game, but Jay Cutler hurt his knee, wound up on the exercise bike during the second half, and Aaron Rodgers barely overcame Caleb Haney on the way to the Super Bowl. He played well in that Super Bowl. I still say Polamalu had a pulled hamstring, and Ryan Clark, my friend from ESPN, was at the end of his career and wasn't exactly the fastest safety who ever played pro football. And Aaron took advantage of it. Our man Greg Jennings took advantage of it, and they won that Super Bowl fair and square. But since that Super Bowl, Aaron Rodgers is 6-7 in the playoffs. And when I think about it, I look at all the games he's won, they're all tainted. He beat Joe Webb as a starting quarterback. He beat Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins was horrible at that point. Dak Prescott was 4-0 against him when Kirk was a Washington Redskin. So he beat Kirk Cousins. Wow. Then there was the Dez catch game. Dallas should have won that game because obviously Dez caught it. And then there was the Giants boat trip game. Oh, well, Odell takes the Giant receivers to South Beach to get ready for a game up on the frozen tundra. And, okay, so you beat that team. They weren't ready to play. And obviously Odell had a miserable afternoon up in Lambeau Field. And then came the Mason Crossbar game when it took 2 intergalactic field goals from Mason Crossbar to save Aaron Rodgers in that game from 51 yards and then 56 yards. I'd never seen anything like it. And both of them were mishit field goals. One of them a dying quail to the right, the other one duck hook left, and somehow the hand of God moved it back inside the left upright. I don't know how it happened, but Aaron Rodgers could have lost any of those 5 games. And then you look at the losses, he lost, they lost to Eli and Kaepernick at home. And then obviously there were the 2 San Francisco blowouts to Kaepernick, and then this past year, obviously, to the 49ers. And then there was the one terrible game. Yeah, well, no, but he played not very well in those games. He played poorly at San Francisco this last playoff run. And then that one game he played very poorly in was the game at Seattle in the NFC Championship game. And I know it went down to the wire, but Aaron took a real beating in the media in Wisconsin, especially in Milwaukee, because by his standards, he was awful in that game. And then check this out. How about the last 4 years? The last 4 years, Aaron Rodgers has declined every year. His passing percentage, completion percentage, has dropped 4 straight years. His QBR has dropped 4 straight years. Meanwhile, the last 3 years, Drew Brees has led the league in completion percentage, led the whole league in completion percentage. Aaron Rodgers has Drew Brees has outstatted Aaron Rodgers for the last 4 years as Drew was going on age 41. Go look at the last 4 years. So the last 4 years of the decade, that's 40%. Drew has been far better than Aaron Rodgers. So how can you do that to Drew Brees? That he's been iconic. He's been legendary. He's obviously a lock first ballot Hall of Famer, but he's also on the verge of being a top 5 all-time quarterback. And you're saying he can't even make the all-decade team over Aaron Rodgers? I'm sorry, that's pathetic. That's a joke.
Skip, it happens sometimes. You know, us all-decade players, you know, your boy happened to be one of those in the 1990s. Skip, it happens.
Yeah.
It happens. Skip, but here's the thing. Look at Drew Brees. When they lost to the Rams, did Drew Brees play well when they lost to the Rams? They had home field advantage. Did Drew Brees play well? No. What about when they last year at home to the Vikings? Did he play well?
Vikings.
No.
Yeah.
Hold on. So no, he didn't play well. He didn't play well against the Rams. He didn't play well against the Vikings. Aaron Rodgers, Skip, if you look at it, he's been to 3 NFC Championship games. He's lost all 3. Drew Brees has yet to win more than 1 game. That's fact in this decade. Okay, his team gave up, you mentioned, they gave up 37. The defense gave up 37 to the 49ers, 44 to the Falcons. They gave up 37 to Eli. They gave up another 37 to the 49ers. Skip, how are you supposed to keep overcoming that? So I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers will not, but if you look at it, Skip, it's hard to, the guy has 2 regular season MVPs, 2 in this decade. He has a Super Bowl MVP. Skip, he's 305 touchdowns to 63 interceptions. Brees has double the amount of interceptions than Aaron Rodgers. Skip, and he lost the championship game to the 49ers, to the Seahawks. Skip, OT. All the guy has to do is field the onside, and they're going to play the Patriots in Super Bowl. And he loses his mind. He wants to be the hero. He doesn't block. He tries to field it, and we know how that turned out. So, Skip, I get it. Drew, Skip, a lot of times being an all-decade player, you look at Zeke Elliott. Zeke Elliott just happened to come in 2016, and he only got 4 years in this decade. But, and he might not get it because much longer do we think Zeke's going to play? You get, guys at the front end, and they pan it out. But Aaron Rodgers absolutely deserved to be on here, Skip. You look at his resume. It's impeccable. Drew's record is impeccable. But, Skip, he doesn't have the postseason success to go along with that regular season most impressive. Because his regular season is more impressive than anybody in any decade ever at throwing the football.
Okay, I dare anybody to go back and break down the tape or even look at the play-by-play, carefully go through it, of the 3 NFC championship games Aaron Rodgers has played, and tell me what you see. I see 3 NFC championship games and 3 poor performances by Aaron Rodgers, especially when we're grading him, we're evaluating him at the highest level of the curve because he's chosen to the all-decade team. Tell me he played well in any of those those NFC championship games, because he did not. Again, the Caleb Haney game at Chicago against the Bears, he threw an interception to Brian Urlacher. I don't think it got returned all the way for a touchdown. I think it went down to the 2 or 3 yard line, but it was the equivalent of a pick six. They struggled mightily just to overcome Caleb Haney in the second half because Aaron was lousy. And then you look at the Seattle game, go back and break it down. I realize it came down to an onside kick that should have been recovered. I got you. But the reason it came down to that was because Aaron Rodgers missed so many throws through the course of that game to that moment. And it went overtime, as I recall. Aaron Rodgers was lousy by his standards in that game, and they should have won the game.
He had a pull
and the reason they didn't was Aaron Rodgers. What's that? Say again?
What about the pull cap that Aaron Rodgers had?
Oh.
Are we going to talk about that? You remember he beat the Cowboys on one leg.
If you step onto the field, you're okay to go. Am I right about that?
Yes, Skip.
Okay.
I did say that, and nobody wanted to hear that, but Skip, he beat the Cowboys on one leg and then had to go. Skip, do you realize, think about how many first-team all-decade players was on that defense. Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, and Bobby Wagner. They got 3 guys on that defense on the all-decade team. And Marshawn Lynch made it. So, Pete Carroll, you ought to be ashamed of yourself only getting 1 Super Bowl. You ought to be absolutely ashamed of yourself because you got 4 players on the all-decade team and you're an all-decade coach and you got 1 Super Bowl on your resume. But that's not, we'll talk about that probably tomorrow, I hope. But, Skip, look at what he was going up against. On one leg, and almost pulled that off. If Brian, I think Brian Bostic is his name, if he does his job, which is to block and allow Jordy Nelson to field that onside kick, Aaron Rodgers might have been unanimous selection on there. Just might have been. Because he'd definitely been 2-0 in Super Bowls this decade.
If Dez Bryant had been ruled to have scored a touchdown because he caught it, he ran a whole stride and a half with it, and then took it in his left hand because he's left-handed and slammed it on the goal line the way a running back does to break the plane. If that had been ruled a touchdown because the referee said touchdown, and that hadn't been overturned from New York for reasons I still can't comprehend, then we might be having a whole different conversation about Aaron Rodgers now. Maybe that was the play that put Aaron Rodgers onto the all-decade team, and it was fraudulent. It was bogus. It was criminal.
Nope.
Dez Bryant caught it. My Cowboys would have gone to Seattle and won that game because they'd already won at Seattle in the regular season, and they would have gone on to the Super Bowl and lost to Tom Brady as the Legion of Boom lost to Tom Brady, but at least they'd been in the Super Bowl.
You keep saying that, but you remember what happened last time your team beat a team in the regular season and faced that team in the playoffs? You know what happened. You beat Green Bay in Lambeau. And then Green Bay came right to Jerry World and spanked you. So stop thinking because you beat somebody early in the regular season, you should turn around in the playoffs and do it again. No, it wasn't going to happen.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's another reason Aaron Rodgers doesn't belong on the all-decade team. A rookie fourth-round quarterback named Dak Prescott went into Lambeau and completely outplayed Aaron Rodgers as Dak Prescott was about to outplay him several times that they have met in head-to-heads, and then outplayed him again in the playoff game. Dak Prescott threw for 305 yards and brought his team back from 21-3 down to 31 all, and it took 2 field goals to beat Dak Prescott. So thank you for bringing that up.
That's what Dak got. Guess what, Dak? Dak was one of my first customers. They came to Club Shay Shay and caught that hot ale. That's what he got. So, Skip, stop this.
Well,
Will you stop?
Leave
Aaron Rodgers alone.
Yeah.
two league MVPs. Nobody else can say that.
I cannot
and
tell
a Super Bowl.
Lil Wayne, please forgive me. I still love you, but I don't love Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.